The topic of this learning plan is the atomic bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki during World War II. This plan uses techniques based in constructivism to promote the learning of factual information about the bombings. These techniques will also be used to develop the skills necessary to articulate a position for or against the bombing. The goal of the course will be to foster critical thinking, reflection, and diverse viewpoints in a respectful environment. A consistent theme will be collaborative group work. To that end, in this lesson, students meet first in one group to develop subject matter expertise. Students then meet in another group to discuss findings and make decisions. The motivating activity for this lesson is a magnification of the consequences of the decision to drop the bomb, a decision that students will be making again in this class. Depending on the resources, the teacher may catalog the destruction visually, as in these images, or via charts and graphs, or verbally, such as by describing death tolls or injuries. The hope is that the gravity of the decision will encourage a re-examining of any preconceived notions about the subject matter and encourage deliberate, critical evaluation of the facts. This will not be a one-off, but rather part of a consistent theme throughout the course of critical thinking and reflection about historical decisions and their impact. To begin the lesson, the teacher will divide students into groups of 5. Each student will represent a different advisor to President Truman. Each will have a different area of expertise to research and to bring to the group discussion. Ultimately, the groups will vote on whether to support or oppose the atomic bombing of Japan. The roles will be Head of the Manhattan Project, researching the scientific information about the bomb, Secretary of State, examining prior violence against civilians in the war, Secretary to the President, considering the political landscape, Secretary of War, searching for alternative resolutions, and the Military Chief of Staff, researching military implications. First, students will spend 15 minutes meeting with cohorts assigned the same role. These students will research their area of expertise, collecting data, and evaluating sources. Sources may include the course text, printed sources such as book excerpts and research articles, and web quests, depending on the level of access to technology. Students will then meet with their groups and share their findings. The note-taking scaffold provided by the teacher, such as the example seen here, will provide easy reference to research and allow students to record the data that their classmates bring back from their cohorts. This resource will be useful to students in writing the assessment essay to come. They will then spend roughly 15 minutes contemplating whether or not to drop the bomb. If a quick consensus is reached, they will look for information that might contradict that consensus. If necessary, the teacher can ask probing questions to spur discussion. As the time comes to a close, the group will vote on their recommendation to the president. During this time, the teacher will let the students drive the activity, while assessing their performance of certain key objectives. The teacher's goal is to ensure that students find the relevant data, effectively assess their sources, think critically and divergently, and adhere to the culture and rules of discussion established throughout the course. After this, the teacher will lead a discussion amongst the whole class. The teacher will record data about the decisions made by groups and individuals, looking for themes, such as voting patterns among students assigned a particular role. The teacher will then ask students to consider complex issues that arise from Truman's decision to use the bomb. Does total war make all civilians de facto combatants? Should civilians be protected because their participation is involuntary? If we elected not to drop the bomb, would our previous civilian bombings been immoral? By targeting civilians, did we lose the moral high ground? These questions are meant only to spur debate. They have no correct answers. For assessment, students will be assigned to write a 1 to 2 page memo to the president articulating a position on whether or not to drop the atomic bomb. They will be asked to provide coverage of the facts and make an argument based on those facts. The memo must also explain factors that contradict the writer's position and why those facts are less important. The learning theory driving this lesson is constructivism, building understanding out of disparate pieces of information. The lesson plan aims to develop conceptual understanding, meaningful knowledge about a topic with many connections to other ideas. It also plays on students' worldviews, their broad set of assumptions about the world that influences how they interpret various phenomena. This lesson is very group-oriented. The class becomes a community of learners, one where teachers and students work together to develop a knowledge base and promote learning. The division of assignments emphasizes distributed cognition, a situation where learners tap multiple knowledge bases and pool cognitive resources. Of course, any lesson depending on group work will want to be inclusive, and this lesson is intended to be fairly adaptable to learning needs. Deaf students can participate via an ASL translator, and blind students can use Braille or audio sources. Individualized education plans may vary, but proper accommodations should be manageable. English language learners can be accommodated in a number of ways. Resources can be made available in the mother tongue or produced with simpler English and additional visual information. The priorities of this lesson are in conveying content knowledge and developing critical thinking and other content-based skills, and to the extent this can be done without English, it need not be. For gifted students, no adaptation is necessary. This lesson has no constraints on the depth and complexity of thinking possible. However, gifted students will have the option to increase the rigor of assignments given throughout the school year to reflect the AP standard. The student could then take the AP exam at the end of the year. This lesson plan hopes to bridge the digital divide in two ways. The first is to open itself up to as much technology integration as possible, giving students access to whatever resources are available in the classroom. The second is to develop skills and literacies in a way that will be applicable to the new media landscape, regardless of the technology used to teach them. The hope is that this lesson plan will foster collegiality, collaboration, critical thinking, reflection, research skills, and so on. The type of skills students need to succeed in the new media landscape described by Jenkins in his white paper, Confronting the Challenges of Participatory Culture, Media Education for the 21st Century.